CEO and founder of ArcVida, and I have the distinct pleasure today of interviewing my middle brother, Jules of Long Beach. Hello.
Hello, gorgeous. I'm so excited. You look fabulous.
Well, you always look more fabulous than I do. You definitely win the fabulous award in this family.
I mean, someone has to wear the makeup around here.
Someone does, yes. Not me, as you well know. So I want to just talk to you today. Over the years, you and I have been talking about careers, and I, of course, have watched you build an incredible career as a drag queen and performance artist, and I want to talk to you about that. And specifically as it relates to celebrating gay pride, I want to talk to you today about fit at work, both how you found a career and paying jobs as an employee that really fit for you. And I also know that you recruit and hire people for both W-2 work or contractor work and that sort of thing. So I'd love to talk to you more also about how you think about fit when you're recruiting and hiring.
It's an amazing privilege to be talking to my older sister, who has always guided me, and I'm so proud of ArcVida and this amazing company, who's really delivering a service to folks that is not available and guiding people into their dream job and amazing, fulfilling careers. So I'm thrilled to be on with you today. Fit is so important, and if we discover in our daily lives what makes us happy, and if we're authentic to ourselves, we can thrive and be successful and make all the money and be fabulous. So as you well know, that was my journey. How do I fit in as this crazy drag queen, as a super flamboyant little gay boy, and do something that's creative for me and stimulating and fulfilling, which is so important. So that fit is number one, as you said. I am the executive director of Hamburger Marys, the executive director of entertainment for Hamburger Marys International, and I run entertainment marketing and media for Hamburger Marys throughout California, and I run a production company. So yeah, lots of hiring, lots of recruiting, and lots of fabulous folks around.
It is all so fabulous and so creative. And for those of you watching who aren't familiar with Hamburger Marys is a restaurant that also has entertainment and a chain of locations around the world, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
We currently have 19 locations and always looking for more. So if you need a fabulous hamburger stand, we are your folks. It's a dynamic business. It's a franchise corporation, and we have independent owners and franchisees throughout the U.S., and we're actively recruiting abroad as well. And it's great. It's ready to go. Follow the book, follow the rules, and we'll get you all set up with the most amazing location you ever have.
All right. So I want to back way up, because certainly when you were in college and then working, it wasn't intuitive that being an international entertainment director for a franchise restaurant chain of franchise restaurants was your destiny. And if I remember correctly, back then, the drag queen wasn't actually really a career. So share a little bit of your journey in both, how, certainly as your sister, your older sister, I have a perspective.
Much older. I'm obviously young and delicate.
Not that much older. Anyway, I have a perspective on how creative you are and how entrepreneurial you are. But I'd really love to hear some of, when you look back at those early years of trying to find your place and the work that you wanted to do, and just for our viewers, Jules is multi-talented and could do almost anything creative in any dimension. So choosing the work that you chose and how you created your role, and also found a place where you can thrive doing creative work that you enjoy.
That's a all-encompassing question. And yeah, so at the beginning of the journey, to not drag it out too much, Let's,
Drag.
go from, exactly. Let's go from the middle of nowhere with no media exposure to, the great big wide world where we both were, raised in a quiet, kind of secluded environment. So we pop out into the great big wide world, and I realized I want to be fabulous. And so the first fulfilling job I had was at a makeup counter at an department store
I
at the
remember
Robinson's May in Westminster Mall. And it was the first time. It was fun. I was playing with makeup. I was playing with colors that are always been artistic. And then that was a way for me to branch out. And I was so lucky to become the national artist and trainer for a huge makeup brand, and get into celebrity TV and film makeup. That was really fulfilling for me, but I wanted to be my own boss, and that kind of always drove a little bit of what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be traveling around a lot. I wanted to be on stage and fabulous. So it comes to making my own opportunities. I started doing drag shows and nightclubs, and it wasn't a thing that was career. Like, you could do it as a hobby. There were very few people who could make a living. It was a very limited circuit at that time.
Did you even get paid when you started? Were you getting paid to entertain?
No, when you started, you worked for free, and then you kind of worked up to a booking that maybe would give you, I think it was $25, to show up, and you worked for tips.
It was for your Cadillac.
it was super, just like go out and be fun and go hang out with your friends, and kind of a fun hobby. And I was trying to figure out how can I leave my job as a national trainer and artist for this huge makeup line and have a fulfilling career and be paid for it. And so I made up my own opportunities. Hamburger Marys at the time had just opened in Long Beach, California. And they were just a diner, and it really came about that I wanted to put on a show, and their restaurant didn't have any programming. It was just a restaurant. And so they allowed me to come in and do a show, and that led to another show and another show and another show, and shows around the country, and evolving that concept of dining and drag shows and brunch shows and incorporating all of that together was so successful. We launched it throughout the country and the world with our Hamburger Marys brand. And now we kind of tie the two together. So it's been a really fun journey.
It's interesting. I think I knew that you had started your show there, but I don't know if I knew that Hamburger Marys didn't have entertainment before you posted. Were you inspired by some of the shows? I remember Lips in San Diego had done drag brunches, and I'm sure there were other shows or drag shows.
I think the first time I ever saw, I had been doing drag shows at a club called Oz in Buena Park.
Oh,
it was
I
18 and over club with my friends Raja and Delta and Chanel and so many people that we kind of grew up together.
Yeah.
And all these huge RuPaul's Drag Race stars now are people that we all grew up together and explored drag together when we were 18 and 19 and 20 years old. So we kind of started from there. I remember we did go to, I think you took me to Lips for my birthday one year. Was I 19?
I mean, it sounds like the kind of thing I would have done. I remember going to Lips. I don't know if I took you.
You took me. It was my birthday present, I think, when I was 19. Yeah. Talk about a radically supportive sister. She's like, hey, let me take my crazy gay brother to a drag restaurant. And I loved it. It was super fun. And, a couple years after that fact is when, I wanted somewhere to perform. And Long Beach didn't really have venues or lots of drag shows. There was one show once a week. And it was the legendary Dream Girls, and they had a set cast. So I wanted my own space to, I couldn't get into that. I was a mess. I was a little messy drag queen, and I wanted to.
A long way.
I still can get messy, of course, but I wanted to make my own thing. So So Hamburger Marys was so kind, and the owners at the time allowed me. They were franchisees, and they had allowed me to put on a show and give me a stage for that. Which they were such a restaurant. They didn't have a stage. There was no dance floor. There was no lighting. It was legit a restaurant. We moved tables to the side, and we, made a show like after dinner. They didn't have anything going on, so that was the start of it all. So fast forward to crazy programming all over the place.
Yeah, no, so I want to switch topics a little bit and talk about money because, most people work to earn a dollar.
Yes.
Pay the mortgage, as you like to say in your online live brunches. Plug for you,
Yes.
your Facebook online brunches on Saturday or Sundays. But
well, that's very important. Every Saturday and Sunday, you can find me online. Live from my backyard at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time, and it's free to watch.
It's comedy, you guys. It's comedy. You should watch it. But when you first proposed to Hamburger Marys, the show, and then I know as it grew over the years, I want to talk about money. So if, as you're able to, how did you propose it? I know initially you just wanted a stage, but over time it became a business. And then, so how were you getting paid for those shows? And then when did it become you creating this job as entertainment director? And then I want to morph into talking a little bit more about how you find people, because these are ensemble shows with, fabulous entertainers. So I'd love to talk more about how you hire people that are a good fit.
We started out with being grateful to have a space and doing a show and working for tips. And then at some point we added a cover charge, and we would pay ourselves from the cover charge. And that evolved over the time that the show value, or the restaurant valued our contributions as artists, and negotiating with owners. And there's now a budget for each show, and the entertainers are paid for their appearances. The bulk of the money is still probably tips and gratuities from customers and friends that come in to watch the show. But there's, we work on show budgets and advertising budgets, and a big game plan, and an entire 7-day-a-week schedule of events in normal times. During COVID, we're reinventing the wheel, and everything is very different. But how do you sustain your business through that is a whole nother topic. Working with business owners in general, working with business owners that value you and your contributions. So if I'm bringing in the dollars to your register, you value what I bring to you, and finding really, really good people to work with makes all the difference. You don't want to waste your time with someone who doesn't value you and your contributions.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that from how we've spoken over the years that you spend a lot of time both in auditioning and then hiring performers. And now as your own production business has grown, where you're doing shows for corporations or, gosh, the Air Force, I feel like you did at one point, the universities. Like, how do you work with people when you first talk to them, and then how do you work with them on a project basis or audition, and then when do you decide that, oh, this person's going to be a good fit, let me bring them on?
It's an interesting dichotomy with entertainment specifically. So it's finding someone who is an amazing entertainer that always starts a conversation. It's someone who can captivate an audience and get that reaction on stage, always starts it. And then the follow-up is really the core. So the follow-up is not just you're an amazing entertainer, you're, basic stuff like you're local and you're available. And then the most important qualities for any job is you show up on time, that you're reliable, that you have integrity, that I can, if I'm producing up to 47 events a week. So I need to know that I'm hiring people that can carry on my directives and my brand and what I need them to carry out and represent to all of our audiences across the country. And it comes down to those eternal factors. You showing up on time, that you're being reliable, that you're operating with integrity, and you're a great entertainer on top of it all. On top of all of that. Yeah.
So I kind of I want to probe on that a little bit because I think, drag queens and hiring entertainers is like a really fun, fabulous example of this. But you're touching on something that I think is really universal across work, which is what are your skills? What kind of education or training do you have? Are you motivated to do it? And then
Yeah.
what do if you're the employee, like what do I need as the employer, like how are you going to fit into the team? And so is there a how do you find these people? I mean, clearly, like you're so connected. I mean, I don't know how many, do you have 25,000 Instagram followers? I don't know if you're on LinkedIn or not, but like how do you find people that are going to be great, and then do you audition, or how do you figure out that their skills and enthusiasm match the professionalism and the entertainment that you need?
I'm in a very privileged position where people come to me. That's the short answer at this point. People come to me and want a job, and I get, amazingly blessed to have all this amazing talent that wants to work for me at my venues, which is an amazing position to be in. When we started, it was, friends that we entertained together and who, I was on stages with all these people. And so it was great. We worked together, and, I knew how they worked and I knew how they operated. And I knew the energy you feel from a crowd, and they resonate with that person. They're some of the most amazingly talented entertainers I've met in years past. I had to learn that there's a separation between an amazing entertainer and amazing employee. So there's a very big difference. Just some of the most amazing entertainers I know are very, artistic. I feel lucky that I can like negotiate the middle line between the art side and the business side.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, I have so much admiration for you and what you've creating your career the way you have, and what you've built with your community, and creating this production company. I'm so proud of you, as you know. I think beyond that, though, like you're touching on something which is really about the fit for your business, is that your entertainers have to have a level of, you're calling it integrity. I would think of it also as professionalism. Like you do what you say you're going to do, you show
Correct.
up, you're going to deliver, even if I'm not there to manage. So how do people come in? You say people come to you. Do you come in through referrals or networking, or people sending you videos? And then my second question to how you're finding people are a good fit is, how do you assess, clearly assessing entertaining is maybe the easier part given your skill. Like, when someone's really a great entertainer based on watching them or seeing the audience. But how do you assess the other side of it, which sounds like it's even more important, of this person being a good fit for your production business?
So they come to us through lots of ways. Young entertainer, we intentionally foster open stage nights and audition nights and contests and fun ways for young entertainers, stuff that I wish I had, when I was growing up. I would have benefited immensely from that.
The Rocky Horror Picture Show.
The Rocky Horror Picture Show was integral. That was my first drag gig. It was a volunteer showcast every Saturday night for years and years and years. And that did, but you know what? It was important. It taught me to show up, and it taught me to go to rehearsals, and it taught me integrity. So, you learned a lot with this all volunteer showcast, a shadow cast at a theater. And they're still going to this day. Well, not during COVID, but
oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're still going on. And it's cool to see a new generation of kids, jumping into theater with that Rocky Horror concept.
Yeah.
We do a lot of recruitment through contests and open talent nights and stuff like that. And these days, drag has become such an industry, in large part due to RuPaul's Drag Race and other shows. The Boulay Brothers Dragula is my new favorite drag competition. And one of the kids that started with me several years ago, like a decade ago, just won the last season of Dragula, so of course I'm biased. So Mr. Landon Sider just took the crown, our first drag king to win a national drag competition. You can watch.
Landon is such an amazing performer. Wow, you must.
Oh, he's so good.
This is a side note, but did Landon first perform on your stage? I feel like.
Yep, he's my little baby. He was always a theater kid, and he came to our shows, and he loved our shows, and he was dealing with cancer, and so you know, we needed to do a fundraiser, and his big idea is he wanted to be a drag king in his fundraiser, because he was always at the shows, so he did that, and just, I mean, talk about above and beyond. He's an amazingly talented and artistic person, and his attention to detail and his drive and his passion, and he's created this amazing character, and now taking it global. We were just in London together, and he's doing his big shows in the stadiums across the world. It's really, really cool to see this amazing talent that just sprung up, and he channels all of it.
You sort of referenced this, but I'm hearing it a little bit more, so I'm going to ask directly. When people start performing with you, if they come in either through a network or through these open audition nights, are you giving them another couple shot at, like, okay, can you show up on time for the next show? And is that how you?
So I look at our open call competitions, and I pull someone I feel something about, and I offer them like a guest spot. So here's a guest spot in like a bigger show, or one of our normal, shows that isn't a competition.
Yeah.
And come show me what you got. Are you showing up on time? And I'm with them in that show. I make sure I work in a show with them. And the whole time it's like a job interview, right? They showed up on time. They're cool. They followed the rules. They, it's an amazing. When you're on stage and artistic, you don't want to worry about rules, and so it's very important that you can do both. Did you not climb on the furniture? Did you not touch customers' food and drink? Did you go by the basic, health and safety code? You have to think about that.
Yeah. Now, I really loved talking with you about this stuff. You and I talk about business all the time, but so rarely talking about the chain of fit and hiring. I just want to. So in addition to your performers, I know that you've worked with your production crew, as you call them,
yes.
all these events, whether it's leading, being on the mic for 7 hours at the Gay Pride Parade, emceeing, or you could tell us when we're done here, you can tell us about the Hulu thing you just did. So I know that your staff has been with you a long time. So think about your core team, like those people that have worked with you, how long they've worked with you. How do you think about, clearly you rely on them and need them to keep your machine going. That's not a slur. That's me complimenting your team.
Absolutely. They're amazing.
They're amazing. And
they're amazing.
We all know you need a staff.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
How do you think about keeping it really fun for them? Because a lot, and so that they stay engaged and wanting to work with you. I mean, gosh, how long, like Lance and some of these people, they've been working with you a really long time. So how do they?
They have been working with me for a very long time. I don't know why.
You really don't know why? Like, really? Like,
I don't know. They just
still work to that, for them to still show up and work with you.
I guess it's magic. I am so amazed that some of them still put up with me. I can be very demanding. I can have a very short temper. I have unrealistic expectations a lot of the time. I want everything to go perfectly, and then I want to be late for it. And somehow my entire team, it really does take a village, and I have the best village people. My entire team shows up and just makes it work, from DJ Smuckers and video and editing and making every aspect of sound and engineering and digital media. Lance, my main guy, who now does all of our large events as he, blossoms in his career as a big GM for retail. He still shows up for all these huge festivals and charity events, and still volunteers for all our big fundraisers. Preston and Blaine and Bree. There's a ton of people that encompass this organization, meaning making Jules as a persona work. Someone drove me to the gig, helped pack the bag, someone designed the hair, someone made the dress, someone made the jewelry, someone made sure I had eyelashes custom made by Miss Wilhelmina Caviar. It's truly a huge production for me just to sit here.
Yeah.
And they all continue to show up, and they've been amazing. I've been very blessed to have great people who are also my friends. I think that's super important. It really does feel like a family, and we're bonded, and we support each other, and we care for each other. One of my oldest drag queens, Psychedella, keeps me on track and makes it happen and makes the paperwork push through and, follows up with entertainers when I can't. And between her and Lance, they run schedules for 1 million different shows and fit everybody in together. And then I, have the privilege to just sign off on a bunch of it, and they make it happen and they fit it all. All of these people share a quality of consistency, and they still show up. Sometimes I don't know how they deal with me, but they do.
I'm sure they complain about that as well.
So, I'm sure.
I know you well enough that I kind of already know this answer, but I don't think I've ever asked you. So what about money? We are talking about business, and this is work.
Sure.
You're talking about getting you to show up as Jules. So
yeah, not cheap or easy.
Do you share a percentage of profit? Do you have people on salary? Do you do hourly plus bonus? How does the business of Jules production work?
The business of Jules production is a lot of it is done on independent contractor status, and a lot of it is per gig. You go to the basic level of the amazing Blaine, who's going to show up and pack the bag and drive me to the gig on a daily level, and you go all the way through that to Lance, who is the senior guy and runs large events. And so I basically build my staff into the events. So if you need Jules at your event or your gig, I build my staff needs into that. So they're paid per event, or they're paid per happening. Or, then there's Preston, one of my dearest friends who is going to be in indentured servitude forever because he, has some back dollars to take care of. So it's a huge, I'm very thankful that they're my friends and also my staff.
Employee relationship, but we'll talk about that. Well, I just can't thank you enough for this time talking about business. Fit and loving your job is important in June when it's Gay Pride Month, and in July and August, and also September and December. And so as professionals, and ArcVida's clients are often in transition, whether they added a baby to the family or earned a graduate degree, or just haven't quite found their fit in the world, or COVID layoffs. So I really appreciate you talking through how you found your fit, how you created what you've created, how you look for people to show up and be professional. I think it's really entertaining, but I also really appreciate the conversation. Why don't you, just to kind of wrap us up, why don't you tell people where they can find you, and also if anyone wants to work with you, how they could reach out, and then anything else you want us to know.
You can always find me at juleslongbeach.com. You can find me across social media at Jules Long Beach, like jewelry, Jewels, Jules Long Beach across social media. And you can always hit me up at Jules Jules Love Beach or JulesProductions@gmail.com. You know, it's been a pleasure to do this. It's wonderful finding your fit in the world. It's been interesting to me to make up my own gig and find the next big thing. You can find me this weekend at HuluPrideFest.com as I host the kickoff for Hulu to their amazing Pride Fest, and of course across not just Pride Month but forever. Smirnoff has a big campaign with me coming out this coming week, and lots more in store. It's amazing to use your platform and your fit for good, and you know, charity and fundraising and philanthropy is huge to me, as it is to you, Miss Elissa. I'm very proud of my sister and her amazing philanthropy. You know, I try to combine the two of them. So find your fit and what makes you happy, and figure out a way to put it together.
I love it. Well, thanks again. Really, really appreciate this time.